Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 11 of the Flatland Immersion Podcast. I'm your host, Dusty. This is episode 2 of my conversation with Bobby Carter. If you have not checked out part 1 already, pause this podcast, pop back over and check out episode number 1. This one will make a lot more sense if you do. And if you have checked out episode 1 already, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the feedback and appreciate just anybody that checked it out. So sincerely, thank you guys. Bobby, I know you're listening. Thank you so much again, dude. For all you guys listening, this is probably my favorite of the 2 that we've done. We got deep on this one. Bobby dropped some crazy knowledge. It was just a good conversation, so I hope you guys enjoy it. If you don't follow Bobby already on Instagram, his handle is @BobbyKimani, and follow the podcast as well, @Flatland Immersion Podcast on Instagram. That's enough. We'll get into it here. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. I hope you enjoy part 2 of my podcast with Bobby Carter. Peace. Okay, so we are rolling in our new location. We had to relocate because I was getting severely sunburned.
Yeah. It's pretty intense over here.
It's
closer to the equator, so I guess.
Yeah.
The sun's more intense here than it is in California. And
in California, really? I figured it'd be about the same, but...
No, it's more intense here than Cali. Yeah.
Less smoggy? Maybe?
Dude, that could be a very good point, you know? Like, the sun is going through... That's why I have smog sets and, like, the awesome colors or whatever, because the light's going through all that smog and stuff, and... yeah, so anyways.
Yeah.
It is more intense here. Clean air.
But we're not, yeah, it's nice. And we are now located near the beach showers. There's a shower where people are going to come wash all the sand off their feet. Yeah. So if people hear people showering, bear with it. It is what it is. One thing I did want to ask you, I know this is such a shitty question to ask somebody who's traveled so far and so many places. Mm-hmm. Do you have any real gems, real favorite spots or favorite not even your number one favorite, but just a couple spots that really jump out as being some of your favorites?
You know what? My favorite spots so far are Japan and Brazil.
Brazil? Sweet, man.
Yeah. And obviously Hawaii, since I decided to live here.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I already have water.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay,
thanks.
Cool. We're staying hydrated here.
Yeah, Japan and Brazil. Brazil because of the vibe of the people. It was just amazing when I went there. Everybody's riding. Well, at least at the time when I went there, there was no X Games. There was no any of that kind of stuff. Mm. So guys were just there riding hardcore because they loved riding. And that was it. It's not like the richest country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
As far as how the people are living, but their attitude and everything was just amazing.
Wow.
And I really like that. I really like that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It seems like there was a heavy scene there too. There was
a huge
shredders.
scene. It was crazy. I mean, I don't know what it's like right now, but then it was there were so many riders and nobody knew about any of them.
Really?
Yeah. And in fact, those dudes were you're the first person to come here from outside of the country and actually try to make a video.
Wow.
When I went there. And that was 1999. Summer of 1999, actually. Mm-hmm. Between university and graduate school. Yeah.
Wow.
When I went there.
That's cool, man.
Actually, it was during that time when I got the call that I was going to go. They accepted me into graduate school, so I knew I was going to move to California.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah. So that was the Brazil video. The 25th parallel was the video I made. Where it was the first video where I was I'm going somewhere and let me see if I can make a whole video out of it.
Wow.
Make a story about it.
Is Bruno from there? Bruno Zebu?
Yeah, he's from Brazil. Man. I didn't meet him then or whatever.
No?
So, no.
Well, shout out to that guy.
There's another.
Riding.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. Amazing.
He came to One Love Jam a couple years ago. Was it last year or the year before?
Last year. Because this year I went to One Love Jam.
Okay.
Last year was the only one I ever missed. And I was I'm not missing anymore.
Nice.
But
sweet, man.
I was in the middle of moving, and I'd gone back and forth between the mainland and Hawaii too many times, and
that's crazy.
All in a short time. You know what I mean? So
it's a lot of time on a plane.
Yeah, and plane tickets and all that stuff. So I was But I was like, the next year, I'm definitely going to be there.
Sweet, man.
So
yeah, I'd love to go. It seems I'm amazed at like how many people come out to that jam. It seems,
dude, that is like the biggest Flatland only event in the world now. Yeah. There's like over 120 riders showing up.
That's amazing.
And it's like all generations. So you got first generation dudes like Martin Aparicio, Eddie Fiola, and all those dudes, all the way up to like the most current, like pushing the level type of dudes. And mid school, all that stuff. Everyone's there. Like it's amazing, dude.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to Darren Wright for organizing that. That's cool. Cool to bring that many people together. Jams are fun. It's like we started doing the Vancouver Island or Victoria Jam, we called it.
Okay.
And we've done it 2 years now. But I started out going to the Vancouver Jam, the West Coast Flatland Jam, I think it was called, and it was like I bought my bike it was end of June, and then I went to the jam like it would have been September, so a couple months after I bought my bike, and it was like, looking back now, it's not that big of a jam, but it was really awesome, and I really appreciated like a bunch of people coming together for it.
Yeah.
And for me, it just like really lit the fire under my ass as far as like, this is definitely something I'd like to keep doing, because
it's all about the experiences, man. Like that's what makes life awesome.
Yeah.
So, and that same for like Aloha Jam or whatever. It's not big. There's not like tons of people, but the experience that each person takes away from that is like so amazing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that, because like you traveled to bring yourself to a bunch of other people's riding spots and experience their kind of culture. But you started organizing the Aloha Jam, where you were bringing people to a certain location. You didn't live there at the time, but like, you really. So like, where did the idea? Like, you'd been to Hawaii before that, and met up with like.
Okay, so how did it start? Basically, 2012. I had already gone to Hawaii in 2011, and I wanted to go back. And I just said it to myself. I was like, man, I really want to go back to Hawaii. I should go. I just got to set a date or something. I just said that to myself. And then literally like 3 days later, message box pops up on Facebook, and it's Dub. Hey, Bobby, I'm in Borneo right now, and like I'm making my way back to Canada, and there's a ticket to Hawaii. Do you think it would be cool to go to Hawaii or something like that? Should I go? And I was like, dude, I'm trying to go to Hawaii. Coincidentally,
like,
you know what I mean?
He just asked you if you thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. And like, I'm trying to go to Hawaii. You know what I mean? And so then we kind of set the date. When to go roughly. And then Scott Powell, who liked to travel around, he had been to Costa Rica with us a few times. I hit him up and I was like, dude, I'm going to Hawaii again. He's like, I'm there. That was it. That's all he needed. And then on top of that, Jesse Puente was like, he was trying to go see his homie on Maui. And somehow misbooked his ticket and ended up on Oahu
with you guys.
And it was at the same time, coincidentally, that we were there. And like, so here we all are on Oahu, and we just have this like awesome time. And it's like the island's kind of like magical, and we're doing all this stuff, and we're riding with the riders that are from Hawaii, the local riders here, and we're going on all these different adventures and all this stuff, and it's just like amazing. And like all this stuff just happened to line up, and it just happened. And then even at the tail end, Fat Tony ended up landing on Oahu because he had some photo gig to do on North Shore. So people are seeing us on social media, and it's like, okay, it's me, and then it's like me and then Scott, and then all of a sudden me, Scott, Dub, and they're like, oh, what's going on? And then all of a sudden Jesse, and people are like, dude, what is going on over there? Like, is there something going on that we didn't know? Like, what's happening?
Wow.
You know? And then after that, I was like, man, that was so amazing. Like, how can I make this happen for more people?
Right.
So more people can experience it. And so that's how Aloha Jam was born.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So did you start in what year was the first Aloha Jam?
The first official Aloha Jam was 2014.
Okay, yeah. So you took a couple years to put the idea together.
Yeah, the next year I came by myself in 2013. And I just went around the island with my other friend Kala and maybe a couple other riders, and we were like searching and trying to figure out like where would be a good jam spot that we could like reserve the park.
Gotcha.
It might have a good view for the riders when they show up, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Man, well, you guys nailed it. That it looks like,
so yeah, it was
awesome.
cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, so that's pretty much how it happened. And then after that, you know, it turned into like flat mansion. That whole concept came up, which looked
awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know what I mean? And like, I guess the whole point is that, you know, when you're young, you experience Flatland or BMX or any of this stuff, freestyle, in a certain way, and you're like kind of in your neighborhood or in your local area and you do stuff. But now, you know, we're still riding and we're older and we can do more things and go more places and kind of like experience riding in different ways now.
Yep.
So, you know, Aloha Jam is like in Hawaii, so one, people might have families like you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And they can bring the whole family, and there's stuff for everybody to do. You know what I mean? It's not like some parking lot in the middle of like nowhere where there's like nothing to do except for that parking lot. You know what I mean? And so, and there's like all this stuff we can do off the bike together, you know, as riders, as well as riding. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So it becomes this whole, and then all of a sudden we're in paradise, you know.
I mean,
Hawaii, and it's like this whole thing comes together to an amazing experience that BMX brought us together to do.
It seemed like, I mean, like we just talked about, a jam is, you know, an experience where people come together and they ride and it's a fun thing. But like the experience that you put together for that is way more of an experience. Like you get, like you say, the family aspect is a possibility if you want it or need it to be, and like just the excursions of you guys doing, what were those things, the scuba suit or
sub scooters.
Those things look sick,
dude. Yeah, that was real sick.
Anybody listening, if you don't know what we're talking about, YouTube it, because it's like those little pods that you go underwater and wear as like a big
it's like a bell helmet connected to like this underwater scooter, so your head is like still in a bubble of air. And it has like a scuba tank on it, so that's what you're breathing, the air. And like you're underwater and like and like you're just cruising around looking at fish and stuff under the water with all your friends.
Man.
And like, dude, it was amazing.
That's awesome. That sounds like that's definitely something I would sign up for. But yeah, like the whole aspect of what you put together for that is more than a jam. It's more of an experience and like a vacation as well. Like it's, you know.
Yeah, that's how I called it a BMX holiday.
Perfect. That's the perfect description for it.
And so I feel like it's important for riders to be able to come together without being at odds with each other for like a contest or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, a contest has its purpose, and everyone's there trying to get their practice time in, trying to, you know, get their runs done, like perform well and all that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, you know, we can come together without having the stress and the pressure of like trying to battle, and, you know, all sorts of conversations and ideas and concepts that will also help Flatland happen in this more relaxed environment.
That's sweet, man.
And so you know, we can actually sit down and talk, and that was the point of the house too, which was like flat mansion, you know what I mean? So like all of a sudden now we're all in this big house.
Oh, good catch.
Wow,
that was a big ass leaf just fell right out of the tree, right in your hand.
Perfect.
It was like a ninja catch.
Yeah. Well, you know, Flatland, ninja only, right? So anyways, everyone's in the house together, riding. We wake up, we're talking Flatland, we go to sleep, we're still hanging out, talking Flatland, you know what I mean? And doing all this stuff. So it allows for these different concepts and conversations and ideas to be interchanged, you know what I mean? And it just becomes an amazing experience that you don't usually get to do at these other events.
No.
You know?
Like even the Vancouver Jam, when we go over, it's like me and 2 or 3 of my buddies pile into my truck, and like 3 of the 4 of us have kids. So it's like we go, you know, we'll arrive at like noon, ride for like 3-4 hours, and then we got to split. It's like, all right, we got to go get the ferry because we can't miss the last ferry because our wives, you know, were waiting for us, and we got kids and stuff at home. So to have that, like, the holiday aspect, and to, like, even just today, like, you and I, like, sure, we hit record and we're talking about Flatland, but we've we've been talking about Flatland since I picked you up at the airport.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
And that's something that not a lot of, especially me, I don't get to do that much. Like, that was partially the reason I started a podcast, was to talk about Flatland more, but like, to do it over the course of a weekend or whatever, or however long you end up being there,
days,
is like, is that my computer? Or is that your phone?
That's my phone.
Okay, cool. All right, I was worrying that where it's like, computer's like, you're out of fucking room.
Hollywood Steve.
Yeah.
Legend right there from California.
Shout outs. So, like, one thing actually that kind of just popped up into my mind is you talk about the difference in vibe between a jam or the holiday aspect compared to contests. Like, you know, I've gone to a couple like cool smaller, well, I guess not smaller, but like still very important contests, but I've been to some bigger contests too, like Fees and Real City Spin, where yeah, man, it's like everybody's there, they're happy to see each other, but it's like I need my practice time. You know, don't fuck with me too much, like when I'm getting set for my run and stuff. And like there's a real difference in vibe. In like Flatland just changes. It changes drastically, you know, from a dude who's just, you know, getting some exercise or a daily session in a spot to I need to like get my shit together to put a run together and try and place. Have you like what? Obviously, I don't know. What do you enjoy more? Like, do you enjoy each for differently? Like, did you ever compete much? Or
I started, but then I realized that's not why I'm in Flatland.
Cool.
So like, you know, 94 BS contest, bicycle stunts contest in Chicago. I was there, beginner class with like Matt Wilhelm.
Nice.
And
shout out to that guy. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I was there, and then I kind of went to like Battle of Elsinore, which is now Flatland Unlimited. Like,
oh, okay,
that's what it used to be called way back then in like the 90s or whatever.
That was my first contest.
Yeah. And then eventually I got to like a level, like an expert level, where I was like, well, look, if I want to win, like I need to start doing certain types of tricks and start actually like working on a contest routine and trying to perfect those moves and all that kind of stuff. And I realized that's not why I'm in that parking lot.
Cool, man.
That's just personal to me. I'm not saying it's bad. Everyone has different things that they like to do and like how they fit into Flatland, into their lives. But for me, that wasn't it. And also I was in the university at the time, which was a super heavy, difficult course load. And because I was pre-med, just supposed to go to medical school and stuff. And I was like, look, there's no way I'm going to like be able to train to do well at this contest, keep learning new tricks, and do school or whatever. So what do I really want to do? Why am I really here in this parking lot? And the answer is to just be creative and be free to do whatever I want to do. And so I just kept riding, and I was like, you know what? I don't really need the contest. And then another point that came up was I was like, okay, I also make the videos. And I was like, dude, how are you going to do all this stuff? You're not going to do everything.
Right.
And it was like, okay, well, it seems like I have this unique kind of skill and ability and desire even to make videos. Like, I love doing it. And I also love writing. And so, like I said, I'm on the creative side of things for everything, you know what I mean? All through BMX. And so I was like, that's the route I need to take, because I felt like I could make the best contribution to the scene by doing something that is kind of needed. And I kind of had the skill set to do, so it put me in that kind of position to do so. And so I made that decision, and I was like, yeah, I don't...
Cool, man.
I'm not going to sit and try to like perfect a run for riding. And well,
that's cool, because like that is to ask yourself that question, why am I here, when you're chilling in your spot or your parking lot, like that is a question I think that a lot of people could stand to ask themselves, because like I don't know, that's an interesting one to process. It seems like you've definitely, I mean, it makes sense as far as like the person that you are and the skill set that you have as far as like your video editing and stuff like that, and your genuine interest in doing it, and the value it's provided a lot of people. Like, it's that's really interesting, man. That's cool, because a lot of people, like some people, like I don't want to drop names or anything, but like some people are like viciously competitive.
And that's like, not my mindset.
And that's cool that some people have that. And like,
that's what they do.
I admire the fact that somebody, especially at top levels of pro, like you have to have that mindset. Where
if you're gonna win, you need to like go there saying I'm gonna beat all these dudes.
Yeah, which is a different headspace to even somebody like just chilling in like, you know, a middle class, like veteran class or like expert or amateur. Like it's, you know, you can still be competitive, but you don't have to be like, man, fuck all these guys. Like I gotta do my shit or else I failed to do what I've come here to do. And it's kind of cool how you can have different aspects of the sport where even dudes who never even traveled a contest, they just have a daily practice of like practicing flatland, and that's just their own mental health and happiness factor. Whereas it's cool, there's a spectrum of the flatland scale of
it's all necessary. It's all like in the tree of flatland, like we need all this diversity. Dudes that want to get really good at certain tricks, some dudes want to like stick with one vertical and go as high as they can. You know what I mean? Like you might have like, let's just take Ikeda in Japan. Like that dude's doing time machine variations that no one else on this planet does or even understands what's going on in that position. Like nobody understands it except him. You know what I mean? So you kind of need these dudes that can like push like to these limits in these different areas, you know? And then there's other people that can do like almost everything, which is like a Simon O'Brien or something like that. You know what I mean? That do like, so like, you're not gonna stump them on like almost any trick.
Probably not, man.
You know what I mean? Like, so you need like all this stuff, you know. And then there's other dudes that are just funny on a bike. You know what I mean? And
shout
they
out
just
to
bring
Percy Marshall.
I mean he's sick though too.
Dude.
Yeah, but there's like characters and stuff, you know, out there, and like you need them to like to keep the scene like alive 100%. And like you know, keep everything going. Like, so all these different, everyone has their like unique kind of things that they bring to the scene, and it's all necessary to be like diverse and have all this stuff going on. You know, there's some dudes who are awesome at shows and they can put on a performance like no other. You know what I mean? And that's necessary. You know what I mean? They might not be good in a contest run, you know what I mean? They might not be good video writers or something like that, but dude, they're awesome when it comes to performing in front of people. And like that's totally necessary too. Like you know, it's all there, you know.
It's like flatland as an organism. Like there's different tasks and there's different like necessary components.
Like biodiversity or something.
A lot of people fill those like little niches in the sport of like show riding is a totally different thing. Like you see someone like Chris Baum. Like this guy's he's just an explosive dude on the bike, and as a show rider, like I know he does more than just shows, but like for somebody who's never seen flatland to see a dude like Chris perform, you're gonna come away like banging your chest with that dude. You're gonna be like, that was sick.
He's got a lot of energy, and like he can link up with other sports disciplines and stuff like that too. Like breakdancing and all that stuff. It's like all necessary to be connected with like where like you think about yourself as a rider, and then how you connect to your scene, and you think about how all the scenes connect to me, this whole flatland world scene, and then where does flatland sit within the whole world of all these other things that are out there, whether it's graffiti, breakdancing, business world, which we haven't even talked about, all sorts of stuff, technology, like how does it link with all that, you know what I mean? And where are all the different people that make these things happen?
That's sweet, man. That's really cool. It's an interesting thought, like the spectrum of flatland and how necessary each part of the spectrum is. And like we're gonna watch Fees later today, and we're gonna get to see the highest level of competition where there's no room for like the casualty of riding once in a while. It's like these dudes are like the most hardcore, highly practiced, and then that's something so amazing. But there's something also so amazing about someone who runs a business in the flatland scene or creates content for the flatland scene or somebody who practices and doesn't even have an Instagram. Like they just they just love flatland and like doing it, and you know that's much respect to every person in that entire spectrum, because it's necessary. But back to Aloha Jam.
Okay.
which I love these side roads, but like are you gonna keep doing it?
I'm gonna keep doing it. It's kind of changed a little bit, but I'm gonna keep doing it. We have like the winter escape sessions now. I just started that last year, and now it's by request.
Really?
So I'm like, look, this thing's gonna happen, but it's by request only. And so this year, somebody requested, and it was Gautier he's in Canada.
Oh, okay.
In Montreal. Go Batman is his handle on Instagram.
Nice.
So he was like, yeah, we're thinking about going there. Like, Hawaii looks awesome. I'm trying to get some different riders together, and maybe we'll go. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me know when you get the tickets. He's like, okay, we bought some tickets. And I'm like, it's on.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
And, like, there's a bunch of people. I thought it was, like, only going to be, like, a couple of people, but there's, like, at least 9 or 10 people that came for it, you know what I mean? For the winter escape sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, like, the locals and that also, you know, participated, local riders. So it's pretty cool, you know? And then the summer session is, now it's kind of, like, it's kind of gone beyond a little bit, beyond just, like, Flatland.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I live here. So in Hawaii, the bike shop is still kind of like the hub for all of BMX, whether you're riding flat, street, whatever. So the bike shop Bike Factory has gotten involved, and like they'll bring out like the grind rails and all this stuff.
Nice.
And this last summer one was like crazy because it was like we had the Flatlanders riding, then we had the grind rail with all these other street dudes that kind of showed up.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Hawaii, a lot of riders, like, dude, we live next to the ocean, so part of, like, the culture here is to kind of be in the water, too.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there were riders that came up with, like, spear guns to go spear fishing.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
Some other people showed up, some girls showed up with, like, surfboards. They're going surfing right there, and, like, it's all right here in the exact same area, and
that's
all this
amazing.
stuff is going on. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, everyone's here is stoked.
That's quite the vibe, man.
Yeah.
Even just, yeah.
I was like, this is Hawaii right here.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. Like,
well, I'll come.
Yeah.
I'll come. That sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah, that's really cool, man. Like, I think like one major thing, we talked about it briefly before we started recording, but like something that really fascinated me was your move to Hawaii. Like, I think one thing that really put me over the edge as far as like, fuck, I gotta contact you and I gotta talk to you about it was you did an Instagram post like a little while ago, and I think we had already talked a little bit, but like your Instagram post is kind of like kind of a recap of like how you did the move.
Yeah.
You posted a couple pictures and you wrote a really cool story of like you visited, I guess it's the place where you are now, right?
Yeah, I came to Honolulu. Mm-hmm.
And you saw these dudes, these like, I don't know, older guys on the fishing pier.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Break that down for me, because that was something that, like, reading it, I was just like, every paragraph I read, I was like, fuck yeah, like it absolutely just spoke so much to me about like the basic kind of reverse engineering of seeing something you want, whether it's obviously for you it was moving, but like you had a really cool comparison to these kind of old dudes. Well, not old dudes. Sorry,
no, they were elderly dudes, like senior citizens. But I guess that is so. BMX is like teaches you, like, if you can ride Flatland, you're basically like making something out of nothing. There's no one to tell you, getting you out of bed to go ride your bike. You're gonna learn those tricks. It's gonna be all you that makes you do it. And then it's like, well, what tricks are you gonna learn? Well, look around and you're gonna figure out. There's not like somebody saying you have to learn hang 5, you have to learn this or whatever. You're just gonna like look and then figure it out what you want to do. And so life is actually the same way. Although there is this structure, you might want to call it the matrix or whatever.
I love that word.
That kind of like, kind of dictates to people like what they should be doing with their life or whatever. But, because I ride, you know what I mean? That's one thing that I've been able to kind of design my life too. Not just figure out what tricks I want to learn, but also figure out how do I want to live? Where do I want to live? Like all this kind of stuff, which they don't really teach you in school or anything like that. And so the old people on the pier... that one goes like, I was here and we were doing a photo shoot with Adam Jung, who is like a first generation rider, like legendary. He came up with like forward side glides and was gliding backyards before it was even a thing to do it. He's awesome, and he's a dope photographer now. And so anyways, we were doing this photo shoot and we were on that pier, and like I'm looking around and like these old guys are there and they're just like chilling out and like they're so happy. And I'm looking around and I can't tell these guys a better place to go be. Like, I can tell them to go to, like, Bahamas, but it's going to look the same. I can tell them to go to Fiji, it's probably going to look the same. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell these dudes that there's a better place to be. And then I'm, like, thinking back to, like, where I lived in Hollywood, in California. There was, like, a senior citizens home right across the street, and a lot of older people that lived on my block. And I'm like, what are they waking up to every day? And, like, I see it every day when I wake up, because I walk down the street too. And I'm like, do they even know that these guys exist?
Wow.
You know, and they're, like, looking at paradise, and every day they wake up, they're, like, super happy. And I'm looking at the people on my block, they're not smiling like those guys are.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They're just not. That's just a fact. Like, no judgment, just a straight fact.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And, like, it's like, dude, where do you want to be? I had to ask myself. You know what I mean? And it was kind of one of those moments, like, just like, was like, do you want to, like, start training for contests, or you want to make videos and just do whatever you want and be creative in your parking lot? Like, it's like one of those moments again, except for it was like for my life, and it was like, dude, it's so easy for me to just stay here and just keep doing, and like another 20 years will pass. Easy. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I'm one of these older dudes on my block, and like, but I know this other reality exists. So am I going to try to get on that?
Yep.
Which one do I want? And am I willing to do the work and make that happen? And so that's pretty much how it happened. And to make it happen, you have to make a plan and all this other stuff that I talked about in that post.
Yeah, which fascinated me a lot, because, like, I'm a very goal-oriented person, and I have discovered a certain amount of, like, reverse engineering that you can do. And you talked about it in that post of, like, you made the goal, and you were like, okay, this is my decision, I'm going to do it. So what comes before that? And then what comes before that?
You all the way back down to where you are at the current point.
Yeah, you talked about, like, your money and, like, all that situation. Like, that's pretty impressive, man. Like, because on one hand, it's like, it's so blind, it's so dumb, like, it's so simple, like, anyone can do that. But on the other hand, it's something, like you say, we're not taught. Yeah,
we're not conditioned to, like, think that way. So, and also you get comfortable and you're familiar with stuff, so you kind of get scared of the unknown, even if that unknown may be, like, way better than where you are. You're not comfortable with that, because you don't know what it is necessarily, and even if you don't like where you are, it's familiar and comfortable. So you have this, like, inertia to just stay where you know everything, even if it's not that good. And so I think that's what BMX kind of teaches us, to, like, you know, how to stay at something and focus at something to achieve a certain goal. And especially Flatland, because if you're riding Flatland and you learned any trick, you know that you didn't just pick up the bike and, I did it. No, like, you sat there until, like, you started figuring this little piece out and that little piece out and the next piece out, until finally you're able to do, like, the whole trick or the combo or whatever. And if you're at, like, super high levels, that may have taken you years to get there. Yeah. So that's the journey. That's the journey of, like, all of life, really, if you're gonna live it to, like, the fullest. And so that's what I came to that crossroads, and it's like, well, what path do I really want to be on? Wow. Okay, not the one I'm on. So what I got to do? And it didn't happen right away, dude. I talked about it for years until it finally happened. And things kind of lined up here and there, and like I said, every opportunity, I was trying to figure out, how can I live here in Hawaii? How can I make this happen? This and that. Every opportunity that came up, I'd be like, okay, can that help me do that? Can that help? And, you know, I'm looking all over. You know, I'm talking to people who already live here. You know what I mean? Hey, you know, where can I live? Like, what's the scene like? You know, like, you know, what's this area like? This and that. People are, like, calling around, like, doing all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? And, like, things just started shifting. Yeah. And it took a while. Of course, yeah. Something like that. Eventually, major. Boom. You know what I mean? It lined up, and, like, I jumped. Yeah. I mean, we talked earlier about that jump into the unknown abyss, like that. I can't think of a bigger jump, really. Like, that's it's heavy, man. Like, like you say, you grow up with comfort, and as a person, we're like, it's evolutionary biology that we're programmed to seek comfort and to seek a lifestyle where we're not challenged a lot. And
to have, even when people see something like that, they go somewhere and they go, fuck, like I could really live somewhere like this.
Yeah.
Like this is a way of life I could really get into. Like I just, I'll come back and visit or something like that, right? But
or someday,
another day, yeah. And then like to have like the guts, man, to like say, all right, like this is going to be something I work towards, and what are the steps necessary that come before this?
Yeah,
like that is a life skill, and you're very right about it being like Flatland is a perfect example of that. It's like, I want to learn outside halfpacker. It's like, okay, well, what do I have to learn to? Because you can't just fucking step in and scoot your way into that trick. We use whatever trick you want, but it's like there's a series of tricks or other things you need to do to begin it. Yeah, and that applies very much to
all of life, dude. Like seriously, like you think about like building a ramp. Even though now I know there's like skate parks everywhere, so kids aren't really building ramps so much. But pretty much everyone that had a backyard ramp, they didn't have any plans. All they know is that they saw a video or a picture and somebody had a ramp. And I was the same way. I seen these videos and dudes had ramps, and I was like, I want a ramp. Well, I don't know how to build a ramp, but let me just try to figure it out step by step. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden you're like cutting up wood and your first ramp may not look that good. Oh man, my but first you're learning it, Yeah.
I couldn't even ride the first ramp I ever made.
Yeah. So I mean that's how it goes, and like that's how like all of life is, but somehow we kind of lose that as we get older and stuff.
It's scary, man. There's a level of fear, especially when you have like kids. Like I've been lucky enough to work my way into like a really good job and a career, and I live in, it's not like this paradise, but it is another type of paradise for sure. And like traveling to places like Australia, I see that lifestyle and I'm like, damn, like I 100%, like no questions asked, I could do this. Like this is,
if you want it, you guys got to go get it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is you start asking those questions and
start coming up with answers. As soon as you start coming with the answers, it's like one thing to the next. All of a sudden you see the path, and then you're like, okay, this is totally doable. But the crazy thing is, after all these years of me like trying to figure out how I can live in Hawaii, I came here every year for a couple of weeks doing Aloha Jam and all this stuff. When I was leaving and I was telling like my neighbors, like I'm moving, dude. Like, oh yeah, where are you moving? Hawaii. Oh, good luck with that.
Oh wow.
And I was like, look at that. Like, is he good? Right? He's like, not much to do there. And I'm like, I have all these years of like coming here, doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? All this, let's just call it research and all this stuff. And then here comes some dude who had never even been here, telling me, "Oh, there's not much to do there." And without all that research and all that stuff and experiences that I had, I might have been like, "Oh yeah, that's what I've been told."
Yeah.
It's like, is that what you've been told, or do you really know? You know what I mean?
And you might have shut it down just off someone's advice.
Yeah, and that's how things are for everyone's life. Why are you going to ride that bike? Why are you still riding that bike? You know what I mean? Why are you going to pick up a bike at 30 and start riding?
Yeah, I heard that. The same with the podcast. People are like, for real, man? Like, you have only been riding like 5 or 6 years. Like, what are you talking about?
Why are you going to do a podcast? But, are they doing podcasts? Are they, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what are all these other people doing? Like, you have to design your life and, like, figure it out for yourself. Do the research for yourself. And, like, the possibilities of, like, what you can do is, like, way beyond, like, what you ever imagined. So now here I am. I live in Hawaii, and like it's better than I even thought it was going to be at the beginning.
Oh man,
like
that's amazing to hear. Like, if everybody who's listening right now could just see where we're sitting right now, like it's paradise, man. Like I mean, it's really cool, man. I can't commend you enough on the guts that it took to do that, man. Like that's an example. Like you say. Ask yourself that question and then think of the answers instead of excuses. Like because
basically
it's so easy to come up with those excuses like my friends live here, I got a job here, or I got a kid, and it's like, well, yeah, for sure. Like and those things I validate those thoughts 100% because I do that stuff too, but it's like there is another path.
Yeah.
And if you want that path bad enough, whether it's moving or buying a vehicle or learning a sick trick or competing and winning a medal, it's like you can do that, man. Like there's people who have done it before, and there is a formula that you can follow, and that's impressive that you've managed to do it, man.
And it's not going to be perfect, just like Flatland. You know what I mean? It's not like you want to do a trick and you go for it and you pull it perfectly every time.
Right.
No, there's going to be like times when you fall. There's going to be mess up. You're going to touch most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not perfect. The journey here wasn't perfect. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
It still isn't perfect right now, but is it awesome? Yes.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm
awesome,
riding
man.
more. I got more friends that I can hang out with. I'm in Paris. There's more things that I can even do than when I was in Los Angeles. Like, dude, it's crazy.
I was gonna ask you about like obviously there's the absolutely amazing scene in LA where you moved from, but like what's it like living in where you do now? Like you can ride a lot more from what you're telling me, just as far as like the ease of going to a spot and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, man, where do you start? So basically, in Hawaii, it's a little bit more unique and a little bit more older, kind of from an older era kind of vibe, because it's a smaller community. So if you're into BMX, we're all together as one, as a BMX rider. So, and also everyone lives kind of close to each other. So you're gonna run into all these people. There's a rider that lives in my building. Shoda. Shout out to Shoda, and
we got some motorbikes going past here. But those aren't even motorbikes, though.
Dude, those are sick.
What are those?
They're like little motorcycles, but they're kind of like scooter motorcycles. I don't know. Extended.
Those are sweet. They're like lowrider, mini motorbikes. Sweet. We should have rented some of those for the day.
Sick, dude.
Another time.
Yeah.
So sorry, go on. Your buddy lives in the.
There's another rider that lives in my building. You know what I mean? Adam Jung lives down the street, a couple blocks. You know what I mean? There's like everyone lives like pretty close together, so you're gonna run into riders all the time, and so we're kind of like one family, kind of, and so there's always somebody to go ride with, and even if you're not riding, like you can go chill out, you can go to the beach or go snorkeling or do whatever else you want to do with other riders and stuff. You know what I mean? And everyone kind of like rallies around the bike shop, which is a bike factory, and like half the staff there is like BMX riders.
That's sweet.
And so it's awesome. You know what I mean? And we all can just come together and like do crazy stuff. And also it's still Hawaii. It's like a place. It's like a destination where people want to come. Oh, yeah. So we have visitors. Like Rim Nakamura came from Japan, who's like a sick park rider. He came out and like we filmed a little bit of stuff. You know what I mean? And there's spots. For me, there's spots all over. Like for Flatland, like almost like the design of like the city. They felt like there needed to be courts in like every neighborhood or something. That's like awesome. That. But there's not enough people to like use all these courts. So there's courts everywhere. And then like, man, you can go ride, and then you can just after the session just go jump in the ocean, like a warm ocean with like pretty clean, because there's an ocean in California, but it's cold. You know what I mean?
Oh, fuck that. You should feel the ocean where I live, man.
I'm sure that's even more freezing.
It's cold as shit.
Like after the session, we weren't jumping in the ocean in California as much as we rode next to the ocean. Yeah. It looked awesome, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? And we had awesome sessions. We weren't going snorkeling after the session. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's amazing being here. And the air is clean, and there is some traffic here, but it's not like Los Angeles. And people can just meet up more. Yeah. I feel like, just to be honest, in California, even though we were friends as riders, I feel like we were more parking lot friends because of the infrastructure of the city. Like we show up and we hang out at the parking lot and we ride, and maybe we might go eat dinner or something after the session, and then we just go home. And then you don't see anybody, until it's time to ride again on the weekend or whatever. Right. Yeah. That's certainly more like a big difference. I imagine like it's tough even where I live. It's like I'll meet up with friends and it's like, all right, cool, I got like an hour and a half, like let's get after it and do a session, and like we'll hang out for a little bit after and bullshit. But parking lot friends is an interesting analogy. But I mean that's basically more. Now it's like let's say a day that I don't ride, and I just go to the beach. I might run into a friend, you know what I mean? Oh, they're barbecuing. Oh, dude, come on. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you're hanging out for the rest of the afternoon with some riders and maybe some other non-riders and whatever, and everyone's like having a good time.
You're not even riding. You're just hanging out.
Just hanging out, having a good time, you know? On a day that you weren't going to ride anyways. Like, what happens on those days back when I was in Los Angeles when I didn't want to ride? Like, I don't know. I'm just sitting in my apartment. Like, call up a friend to go do something like, it's all red. I guess we'll just, never mind. It's too much drama. You know what I mean? To like try to meet up. So here it's like, all right, I'll be there in like 10 minutes. Like, dude, let's cruise. You know what I mean? Cruise for a little bit.
That's cool, man. Have you noticed a difference? Like, you seem like above average on the chill scale.
Okay.
But like, do you feel like you've really let go and just become like, how has the move affected your like level of, I don't know, relaxed life in general?
I would say it allows me to be relaxed how I would like to be. Los Angeles is obviously like a lot of stress. Just the traffic alone is a lot of stress. The atmosphere of being in that environment, there's pollution, there's smog. It's not necessarily the safest place. You know what I mean? Like, all that kind of stuff adds to like your stress levels. And here, I don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? I ride at my spot. I'm not worried about security coming to kick me out. I'm not worried about junkies doing drugs over in the corner. I don't have to worry about any like gangster dudes coming through. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I can just be at peace and just ride. But that's what you have to, like, when you're in LA and that's where you ride, that's kind of what you think about. That's what you have to worry about, you know? Like, you're riding and there's some dude on the corner that just peered around and then like watched you and then left, and now he's back again and then he left. Like, okay, is he like trying to, and you're riding by yourself, you're like, okay, I have to be aware of that. You know what I mean? Like, should I just pack up and go home or just keep riding? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be aware of that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? When you're riding in certain places, especially if you're like by yourself or something, you know?
100%, yeah.
And so, you know, and like, I don't really have to deal with that kind of stuff here. So
I feel like since we've been here, like it's been a week and a half we've been here, and almost right away, like I was saying to it when we were driving, is I feel like I can drive how I want to drive here, which is like not in a hurry. Like at home, I try to drive like that, and most people do. Like I'd say probably 80% of people, 85% of people on the roads do drive like that. But there's like that 10 to 15% of people that are like, I'm in a fucking hurry. Like I need to go. Like move over. Everybody get out of my way. Like I'm gonna take that parking spot. Fuck you. And it's like,
see, that's like standard for moving around Los Angeles, basically. More or less, you know what I mean?
But it's like, I feel like here I can be that person where it's I wander around, I walk slowly, and I stop and look at things without worrying if it's like I'm in someone's way. Like I better move. Like it's not like that here. Like
they have a saying here that you see like stickers, bumper stickers, and stuff like that. Slow down, this ain't the mainland. And it's true, you know. But I think a lot of it like has to do with just the attitude that people have towards each other, and that's what like the aloha spirit is. Like it's a real thing. Like it's not just like, oh, they talk about it or whatever. Like each person is important to the next person. Like you're in this community, and like other places like kind of don't have that vibe. But being here and having that vibe and that attitude towards each other definitely lowers the stress level of everyone in the community, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So
I feel it. Like I really feel it, man. We have a good amount of that vibe where I live, and we have those same bumper stickers, but you usually see it as the car is blowing past you on the highway. It's like come on. But it is really chill there, and it's kind of like how I grew up as being a pretty chill person. And it's just natural here. I feel it like right away. Just people are kind of wandering and driving slowly, especially here on this island. Like it's just there's coming to pick you up this morning. It was like I don't know. I drove almost below the speed limit. It was still on time. Like it was just so chill.
I don't know what the speed limit is here on Maui, but in Oahu, the fastest speed limit is like 60. It's on the H3. Everything else is like 50 miles an hour on the freeways. I don't know. H1 is like a big like 6-lane expressway.
That's huge.
But
yeah, it's been 45 everywhere here.
Pretty much.
It's been average, super chill. But, I love it. It's super nice, man.
But this place also like inspires me. You want to know what the difference, you know? Like when I moved to California, that was like a big inspiration and stuff. And now Hawaii is like another inspiration for me to like do new things and new projects, and there's different riders, and now like there's like different things going on that's like prompting more things,
allowing more room to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me know if you want to stop or eat or anything. Or
no, I'm good.
Cool. Yeah. I've one thing I've noticed, and actually I spotted this like almost on the first day I was here. Right across the street, there's the beach, and I noticed these like kind of grimy vans parked there, which I played in a metal band that toured for a long time, so I see vans that people live in, and I remember that well.
Okay.
But these dudes had there was probably like 3 or 4 of these vans parked in this parking lot, and each van had like at least 2 surfboards on top of it, and there was this picnic table that they had all pulled up to, and this one van had like this awning that pulled out, and the dude had like pulled like this sunshade like thing across the picnic table, and there was like 4 dudes sitting there, more tanned than any human being I've ever seen before, like just unbelievable. And they were sitting there listening to the radio. Like one dude had a ukulele he was strumming away on. These guys had like long ass hair, and they were just waiting for the surf to kick up.
Yeah, that's the lifestyle right there.
It really I saw it and was like, man, that's sweet. Like, look at these dudes. Like, they seem, they obviously have somewhere else that they live, but they come here and they just like chill and wait for like the surf to kick up so they can go out and grab a session. And I was really kind of like starting to think of the kind of like, this is a long-winded way of kind of drawing an interesting comparison between surfing and flatland, because like with surfing I was thinking about it. I've listened to several podcasts on surfing because there's a pretty common mindset between surfers and flatland riders where so you can get a coach surfing, you can travel to contests to attend big contests surfing, you can immerse yourself in culture like you've done where you travel and you take your board and you go, say you want to work with a coach, or say you want to work with even just some masters who have like sessioned these crazy waves, like, and you can learn from them and then go back to do whatever you want. But then there's also the other aspect of that spectrum as well, where like these dudes, like there's dudes that probably don't even have like Instagram and they don't give a shit about posting or following surf related stuff. It's like I do yoga. I love yoga. It's a daily practice for me. And for me, flatland is also a daily practice. But for dudes like that, like those dudes probably have worn spots into that picnic table where their butts have sat every single day for years and years, and it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's their life that they chose, life by their design. You know what I mean? They're there. Those dudes are there because they want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one is forcing them to be there. They are there, and they are really living. You know what I mean? The life that they want to live. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, really. Here comes the sick bikes again. That's cool. How come dudes don't have to wear helmets here?
It's the law. Las Vegas, they don't have to wear a helmet either.
That's wild. I've seen guys on the highway like driving like
going crazy
fast, and they don't have helmets on. It's fucking insane. But it's really interesting, man. Like you just see that vibe, and then everywhere you go is like every vehicle has like a rack on top of it with multiple surfboards.
It's part of the culture, dude. Like I said, like a lot of the riders here cross over and they surf, they do water activities, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty sweet, And even now, I even have to remind myself, like, I just rode. What am I supposed to do? Oh, you know what? Going snorkeling or going surfing or getting in the water or going to, that's an option now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's do it.
There's something about the ocean.
Ocean is healing.
Yeah, it's interesting because like where I live, it's an ocean, but it's a whole different ocean.
Yeah.
It's an ocean that's filled with monsters and like it's dark and cold, but it's still something I try and be around. Well, I live on the island, so it's pretty easy for me to be around. But yeah, seeing guys like that just, I know a lot of martial artists who practice martial arts every day, but they love surfing. Yeah. Surfing's a medicine for them. It's a therapy. It's I read a really interesting book called Stealing Fire, and it's by a couple, I guess you could call them neuroscientists, and study like the brain function and stuff of surfing. And there's inarguable proof now of benefits of surfing for people with severe PTSD and like really fucked up like childhood upbringings and stuff like that. And surfing is used as a tool, and it's being in the ocean, and it's like being exposed to the wilderness, and then the flow state of seeking waves and focusing on trying to get good at something. But
and being in that moment too, I think. I mean, I'm not an expert, but you know, when you're surfing waves, and I have ridden waves before, you don't have time to think about tomorrow, what's going to happen an hour from now, what were you doing yesterday, or any of that stuff. You're just focused completely right there. And kind of like when you're in the middle of a combo too, you're just focused on doing the trick. Your hand has to switch, your feet have to switch, you got to wait for the timing. You don't have time to think about what's coming up in an hour from now. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like when we get into those states while we're riding, it actually relieves a lot of stress, because a lot of the stress that we have is like worrying about the past, worrying about the future, dwelling on all this stuff. And for those few seconds or whatever, it all kind of just goes away, you know? And like just having that stuff go away, even for a short time, reduces your body stress and all that stuff, you know? And maybe it makes you not feel so bad about it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, that's not the end of the world or something, or whatever, you know? But like I said, I'm not an expert, so I don't know all the stuff but...
No, you said it, man. Like, that's the stuff they talk about. And I'm sure anybody who's experienced that knows that, like, man, I can have a fucked up day at work, and I'll grab my bike and I'll go... it's usually the times that you least expect it, too. You'll have a session where it just... You leave the tennis court or you leave the parking lot a completely different person than you were when you walked in.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, it's interesting seeing that in different sports, but there's certainly a parallel in, I think, the mental and physical benefits of flatland and surfing, but just the lifestyle and culture of it.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like this, I imagine places like, you know, where there's a huge scene of flatland riders where it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go to the spot and see who's there, and, you know, maybe you don't even ride, you just cruise there on your bike, do some filming, take some pictures, and bounce, or you do ride, and there's a culture to it.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting to see the parallels between the two.
I think with riding, at least for me, like trick-wise or whatever, when I leave the parking lot, either a little bit better at some trick that I could already do, or I've learned a little bit more on something that I'm trying to learn how to do. And as long as I keep seeing that little bit of progression each time, it keeps me coming back. And so I always think about it like that, because sometimes you can like kind of beat yourself up, like, oh, I had a bad day riding, I didn't pull the tricks that I was pulling yesterday, or whatever, or I should be able to do these and I'm not today for whatever reason, or I kept trying this and I couldn't even get close or whatever. But when I start thinking about it, like, well, am I better at any little concept today now than when I first showed up at the riding spot? If I can say yes, then yeah, okay, cool. You know, you made some progression.
It does a lot. It does a lot. It's I almost find I leave the sessions where I don't perform as well more motivated. Like, I don't get mad. I used to when I first started, but now it's like I leave and I'm like, I can't wait to go get that one back, and I'll take some time to think about it, and then, you know, tomorrow just lace up the shoes the same way and be like, all right, let's try it out and start fresh. And yeah, there's an enormous amount of benefits. And I don't know, we could talk about it for hours. Just the cultural kind of benefit of having it in your life. And it's interesting because, like, I wanted to talk to you, and we talked about it briefly before we started recording, but, you know, we've talked to, like, the last however long, like, man, this podcast is rolling, eh?
Yeah, dude, we just did another hour, like, I mean, you can cut this up.
No, fuck it, man. I'm going to release the whole thing.
Okay.
But, like, you know, we've talked pretty extensively about just the very chill benefits of having flatland in your life. But all of a sudden, we're seeing a new kind of side to flatland where, you know, there was a period where it was gone from, like, the major, like, you know, public eye. Like, X Games kind of dropped it, and it went a while. If you were somewhat educated, you could still find it pretty easily. But, you know, there's talks of, like, the UCI scooping it up and like talking about the prospects of it of being an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
And that happening, like, you know, it seems like a while off still, but that's going to be pretty soon that it actually kind of becomes part of the culture. And I know with surfing, there still continues to be a lot of local kind of people that are like, yeah, that's like, they don't dig it. They don't like it being on a world stage and stuff like that with like energy drink sponsors and like televised. And I have noticed that with the announcement of that happening with Flatland, but I got to say, I don't know, it excites me. I like seeing growth with the sport, and especially at a time where I don't see a ton of young people getting into the sport. It worries me. And you know, you listen to that Khaled podcast where he talks about what he did to somewhat guarantee another generation, at least of some riders coming into the sport.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like something like the Olympics will be something hopefully that has that effect on Flatland.
Me too. I feel like, as far as that whole Olympics thing, I feel like I said before, everything is necessary. All these different avenues and areas of BMX are necessary for the entire ecosystem. And, you know, one thing for sure is that, like, everybody listening to this podcast, everybody can do whatever they want to do. So if you just want to go out and ride and that's it and go back home, you can do that, and that's perfectly awesome. If you want to be an Olympic athlete as a Flatlander, go and do that. That is awesome too. I would only say that I feel like with this, let's just call it opportunity of the Olympics, that the rest of the ecosystem is kind of prepared for it. Otherwise, you end up squandering another opportunity. And so what I mean by that is, like, okay, these dudes are going to like ride at like the highest skill level that they can. They're going to get chosen for the team, however they get chosen. They're going to be performing on like a world-class platform where everyone's going to be able to see Flatland. Okay, that's awesome. Now, do we have a path for kids that are like interested in it? What are we going to do? Is the hardcore underground going to be there for them as a lifestyle?
That's a good thought.
You know what I mean? Are they going to be there to show them like, yo, this is like how you can enjoy Flatland on your own? Even if you're not at this level of these dudes, like, you know, there's a whole lifestyle here of enjoying riding Flatland and challenging yourself and riding with other riders and traveling all over the world and like meeting all sorts of people and just having fun on your bike. Are you going to be there for those guys or girls? You know what I mean? When they come in and they see something on the Olympics or anywhere, that's the main question. And are you going to be prepared for that? Like, if you love the underground, which I do.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
And me too.
And all that kind of cool stuff that happens and creative stuff that happens that's maybe not in the public eye or whatever, but it made my life awesome. Are we going to be ready to bring people that see it into this and show them what's on this level? You know what I mean? With the Olympics being there. You see what I'm saying? And then maybe there's like, you know, schools and all this other kind of stuff. Are we going to be prepared for that? You know what I mean?
That's really.
And so, yeah.
No.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. You know.
That's a really interesting thought. Like, to be completely honest, I hadn't even really thought too much about that. Like, everybody's talked about like how to cater that high end side of Flatland, but to maintain the casual, like, kind of drawing it back to the surfing analogy, is like, you know, the people that just want to surf every day. It's like that's another really important thing to keep going, because I love contests. They're an absolute fucking blast to be a part of and watch, but I love the counterculture of Flatland as well, where you just, you know, a dude that can do crazy stuff on your bike, and the fact that you worked for years and years and years to be able to do that and keep that going, keep that underground culture. And that's that's really interesting, because I think that the first thing I saw was like a lot of reaction from people who were like that just didn't want it to be a big thing, because they didn't want to lose that kind of counterculture aspect to Flatland.
There's really nothing to lose as long as you are actually putting it out.
True.
You know what I mean? Do you want to have an underground jam? Okay, do it. You know what I mean? Do you want to make hardcore Flatland parts? Okay, yeah, go do it, dude. You know what I mean? Do you want to have like a contest that has totally different rules than what the Olympics or UCI? go and do it, dude. You know what I mean? Do you want to have a school? Do you wish there was more school? Do you want to put on a show that shows Flatland in a certain way? Dude, go and do it. That's basically it. Like,
that's amazing.
There's no rules, dude. Like, just go and do it. What you make BMX or Flatland or street or whatever it is, what you want it to be, dude. That's it.
It's well said, man. That's really well said. Don't write mean shit on Facebook. I'll add that, but yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know, it's an interesting time for Flatland. Flatland is, it's growing, but at the same time, it's kind of shrinking. But I feel like it's all good. Like, I feel there's like you and I were talking about it again before we were recording. There's just a lot of good going on. And like when you moved out here, you were worried about, or people were worried about you being away from a scene, and you're like, well, actually, I'm good. Like, it's all good, man.
Crazy. Like all this stuff has been happening. Like, I'm here on Maui doing this interview. Like, I flew here for the day, and I'll be back home in Oahu on another island. Like, that opportunity wasn't gonna happen in LA. You know what I mean? Like, just that whole experience. Like, it seems like no matter where I'm at, somehow Flatland ends up finding me, or I find it somehow, and like all this stuff keeps happening.
That's well said, man. Given that, like, Flatland is kind of this new thing, Flatland is not a new thing, but the shape of Flatland today is growing these new branches off of the Flatland tree. Does it excite you as much as it did when you were, like, in the 90s and 80s with Flatland? Like,
it totally does. It still does. It's different. I will say it's different, but it does excite me. For example, we just organized the first Africa BMX Flatland Expo, and it's not my whole deal or anything. There's a guy named Che who everybody saw on the internet learning how to ride like on dirt and stuff, and everyone's like, this dude is like riding Flatland on dirt, and he's like learning all these tricks. Huge. And he's progressing.
Shout out to that guy. That's absolutely amazing.
And everybody's watching this dude, and like it's like amazing, like how he's like growing, and progressing. And then all of a sudden he hits me up and he's like, hey, I really like to have like a competition in Africa or something like that. Like, what can we do? And he hit up a few other riders, and it ended up being me, Joe Sisman, and the late Hiro Tsuchida, and Che. And we came up with this online video contest, and all of a sudden there's this whole scene that people don't know about in Africa, all these different countries where these riders are. They don't even know about themselves. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I didn't know there were riders in Tanzania, and they're riding in Ghana. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't know about those dudes in Lagos. You know what I mean? And like all of a sudden it's like this rediscovery, or not rediscovery, but new discovery. Just like when I was like finding the dudes in Brazil, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and like there's all these riders there, and like nobody really knew. You know what I mean? Oh, here come some dudes out of Japan who are like killing it. We didn't know at the time like what Japan was like or anything, and like here we are again, and like now we can use this. We're using the internet, you know what I mean, and Instagram and whatever, Facebook, to connect these riders together and discover new people and new scenes and new styles and all that. And so I know for him, for Che, his main purpose is to help develop the scene across all the countries, and that hopefully one day there'll be a rider from a country in Africa that is on the stage at like a feast or the Olympics or Flat Arc or something like that, and help them to develop to get to that level. And that's awesome. And then on my side, like I'm always on the creative side of things, so there actually is like this whole unique style of riding that dudes do that they've kind of come up with in various countries, where it's kind of this mix of old school and performance, and it allows them to like do shows and stuff at like restaurants and on the streets in different places at different ceremonies. So that's kind of like the ecosystem. They can actually make money like doing. I saw this one video, this dude, I don't know what it was, whether it was like a wedding or something, but the whole village was watching him perform, and he's doing all these different hop tricks and moves and stuff, and like dudes are like throwing money at him as tips, you know what I mean? Because they're all stoked, and the whole place is like stoked on him riding. And I'm like, dude, this is not happening anywhere else in the world. This is unique. And like People need to see this. And not only that, but I feel like they need to keep pushing that and keep pushing that unique thing that works over there for them. And like, you know, who knows where that might lead, you know? And especially in Flatland where, dude, most of the money is made through doing shows. That's just a fact. And so here is this thing that they do that's a performance that can fit all these different places, and you know, and it's a unique style that they can push. And I feel like I want to somehow keep that going, you know what I mean, and like show dudes that are doing that style of riding too. And yeah,
you already are though. Like even like since like I didn't know about any of those dudes before. You know, basically, you guys introduced me to it, and then you know you see the IGI dudes down in Ghana. Yeah. Shout out to those guys, but like they almost seem that like they would have been doing it anyway. Like they just liked it and they were riding.
They were already riding, yeah.
And then, but all this kind of like you guys doing that, and then Dub and the IGI crew like kind of hyping those dudes up. Like it seems like it's caused like a real spike in just the motivation and progression. Like I watch those dudes all the time, and they every time they post a video, which is like, you know, a couple times a week, they progress. And you know, for them to be on a world stage is not a stretch. Like that probably will happen, and then from there,
well, they already are. They're on their own stage through this.
Through this
event. Like the whole world's watching these guys riding in places they didn't even know. People didn't even know there were riders at.
That's a really good point.
And even
for sure.
The craziest thing is that they didn't know about each other. And so now this whole scene is starting to communicate and go back and forth, and that's exactly what's necessary for a scene to grow and progress. You know what I mean? And like, so I'm like super excited about that. I'm excited, you know, like
you should be really proud of doing that. All you guys, like it's
they put in a lot of hard work. Joe Sisman and like was like donating private. That's another thing that's cool. Like at least the last one. I don't know if we're gonna do it for this next one, but the last one, Joe Sisman was like raising money to go buy parts for the riders. So now all of a sudden the global community is like pitching in and contributing to this event, which is helping other riders keep riding. You know what I mean? Most of the times I don't know where the money comes from for all these contests or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's especially with the bigger contests.
I don't know where the money comes from. They got a sponsor that put up, somebody put their own personal money, and like that's that. But now all of a sudden everyone's kind of participating. The community as a whole is participating in this thing as a part in it, and like I think that's like pretty cool.
that's absolutely it. Like almost leaves me speechless, man. It's part of the sport that I love seeing so much. Like it, I don't know. I just want it to grow. I want it to grow. I want people to feel validated for the hard work that they put in practicing. If they want to be validated, but like, I don't know. It just really makes me happy, man, and it makes me happy that like people like you and Joe and like everybody that's affiliated with that, like do that because. You know, Khaled and I talked about it. Flatland's time consuming. It takes up physical time. It takes up mental time. Like, and to find the time or make the time to do that is pretty admirable. So as speaking on behalf of a lot of people, thanks for doing that, man. That's fucking amazing.
That's what we do. What was I gonna say? The one thing that I have noticed that's very different between back in, let's say, 80s and all that kind of stuff to now is I feel like it's harder to put the lifestyle and the culture of BMX out there, because when I started, you know, it was like Freestyling Magazine. You know what I mean? It has its own design. There's like a graphical layout for it. There's all these crazy pictures that are huge. You know, it's a large format. It's not like 2 inches on your phone in your hand. You know, there's like all this creative writing that was going on, and I really feel like a lot of that stuff is what hyped a lot of riders to start riding in the first place. And a lot of those riders are still riding now. Now they're like me, you know, they're like 40 years old or, you know, in that age range, and they're still riding and they're still stoked on it. And I feel like a lot of that came from the lifestyle that was kind of ingrained in us through like Freestyling Magazine, BMX Plus, Ride BMX, and like all that stuff. And I feel like it's harder to do that now with the internet. The layout that you would see in like Freestyling magazine is not the layout you're going to see in a business magazine. So all that like adds to the mystique and, you know, what it really means to be a writer, whether you're a beginner or a high-end pro. And all that kind of stuff is kind of like scraped off with the internet just being so fast and so many videos and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it is more of a challenge to add the lifestyle aspect into it. And the other thing that's kind of more challenging now than before is like, because we have so much videos coming out and so much media coming out, like it's hard to create something that's like going to be special and remembered, because before everybody was hungry for information. So a video came out like maybe once every like 4 months or something like that, and like in a series maybe twice in a year at most, or maybe once in a year or something. So every time you were hungry looking for that information, and like you could not get enough of it. And now there's like too much. You can't watch all the videos. You have to put it down because you're like, okay, this is enough. I gotta do other stuff now. And so really awesome writing, like breakthrough writing, kind of gets shown and it's cool for a couple days, and then it kind of passes into, like you said, it passes into the ether. And then there's more stuff, you know, it's not necessarily like the cutting edge, like crazy stuff that, you know, that's super progressive, you know? And like, so those little moments kind of just fade, where before it'd be like, yo, we're still talking about that crazy move that somebody did or technique or whatever 5 years later or something like that, or even let's just say 6 months later.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I feel like that's like a big challenge that the internet has like kind of put on us, you know what I mean? And I feel like that has like different effects on all of action sports, not just Flatland, but all of action sports. Yeah, who knows where it's going to lead, but like I said, there's other things like we just explained, that whole online contest with Africa BMX Flatland Expo, where that's like amazing, you know? That wasn't possible before. So we'll see where everything ends up going, you know?
It's going to be good, man. I know it's going to be good. There's too much love for it in the community that I don't think anything but good can happen. Like it may be different. It may be like a completely new iteration of, you know, what people remember from 80s, 90s, but it's going to keep going. And I don't know. It's I'm just happy that I got on for the ride, because like, I could have missed it.
Yeah.
Very easily could have missed it.
And on top of that, as long as everyone remembers it's going to be whatever we make it, then we'll be fine.
It's a great way to finish this, man. Yeah, that's a really, really awesome thing to say. Dude, so thank you so much, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on here.
No, dude, like this is honestly, it's my pleasure. Like the fact that I came this far and couldn't make it far enough to meet you, and you were like, "Nah, I'll come." And you popped over, and it just was like, it ended up being such a good thing. I appreciate it so much, and I'm sure people who listen to this are gonna, you know, get a good dose of Flatland listening to it and enjoy it. So
yeah, awesome,
dope. All right, we're gonna go watch Fees. Shout out to everybody who made finals.
All right, let's do it.
Peace. Damn, so we did like
2.5 hours.